My pleasure to introduce Alok Aggarwal. He is the founder, CEO of Evalueserve, a unique company when it was started way back in 2000, and a great alumnus of IIT who gives back a lot to the association. So it's a pleasure to welcome you, Alok.
Thank you so much.
Before I ask questions about IIT, I want to ask you about Evalueserve. You started this way back in 2000.
Right, in December 2000.
December 2000, okay. The markets were very different. The idea was unique, but they also say that great innovation, great creativity happens when its economy is really bad, because so that in some ways it was a blessing and it was the right moment.
Right.
So please share with us, how you decided to start this and how the model was different.
So my background is I did my PhD in Hopkins in computer science in 1984, and then I joined IBM Research out here in New York, in Yorktown Heights. I was there from 1984 to 2000. As part of the IBM Research experience, I started their IBM India Research Lab during 1997 to 2000 in IIT Delhi. We rented some space in IIT Delhi, grew it to 30 PhDs, 30 masters. One of the things that we started doing was writing patent applications, but there were no good patent attorneys in India to write those for US purposes. So we ended up sending to US patent attorneys to write those applications. And every time I would look at a bill worth $10,000, I would say, wow, for $10,000 I can literally hire a person here full time in 1998, almost a PhD, definitely a master's. Why don't we take some of these IITians and convert them into patent agents like what Japan has and other countries have? So I was going to quit in 2000 to start this company. Fortunately, I met the co-founder, who is Swiss by birth and background, Mark Wollenweider. Mark comes from McKinsey, Switzerland. He joined McKinsey in 1990, had moved to India in McKinsey in Delhi in 1999. He and I met because our kids were going to the same school, American Embassy School, in 2000. And he had some ideas to do research out of India. I had ideas to do analytics out of India. So we both quit in November 2000 to start a company, Evalueserve, for evaluation services, doing research and analytics services.
If you move forward, say 2008, 2009, there are a lot more people who came into the KPO model, but not have been successful,
right.
Especially in your area. Right. There have been attorneys, especially from Sand Hill Road and Palo Alto area, who tried this, but with very little success. Right. So how do you think is different with you, and what are you?
I think you always have a first mover's advantage, and we were just, this is the beauty, or in fact it could be a beauty, it could be a bane, it can hurt both ways, it can be good. That we were just before our time. So when we used to go to the banks, they would typically throw us out. When we go to law firms in 2000, 2001, 2002, they would throw us out. We were just before our time, but we were not so much before our time that we would just bleed to death. And that's where I think to a certain extent luck comes into picture. Perseverance definitely, but luck even more so. And we had the first movers advantage. We gave the acronym KPO the name Knowledge Process Outsourcing. We wrote a first research article on that, saying that it could be as big as $17 billion worldwide in 2003-2004 timeframe. I think then there were about 320 KPOs that got formed, because it's a typical lemming phenomenon. Everyone wants to be in that particular area which is growing. So I think by the time 2008 came around, there was enough players in the market that the new players would have had a hard time to compete. Now we are seeing that not only the new players were not able to compete and gradually dying out, even some of the ones which were not able to get to scale are either getting bought out or dying out. Now those who are getting bought out, like Pangea 3, are getting bought out at a fairly good valuation, typically 3 to 3.5 times revenue, typically 18 times EBITDA. So 17, 18 times EBITDA. So that's a healthy thing, but I think the space is consolidating. We'll discuss this in tomorrow's panel more, but definitely there would be other opportunities that would come about.
One of the challenges is with human resource. Since you're based out of India, the human capital has to be there. And so the challenges are, one very important is transfer of knowledge from here to, because the clients are almost
right.
pretty much outside of India. How did you meet that particular challenge?
So that's, I think, the hardest thing in our business. It's a professional services organization. That's what most KPOs are. They hire people who have MBAs or chartered practicing accountants, often called chartered accountants in India, certified professional accountants here. You hire some lawyers, some doctors, actually, engineers. So first of all, hiring them, then training them to do the right thing is probably one of the biggest challenges any knowledge process outsourcing company would have. So we have, we do it in a very systematic way. We have right now about 240 e-learning courses. We have in-house training courses and so on. And I think we have been moderately successful. I would not say we have been hugely successful, because that's a challenge. But again, if I look at even US companies in the US, similar companies, training people to the markets, for the markets, is often a very, very hard thing.
And where does the majority of customers come from?
About 40% come from US, about 40% come from European Union, and the remaining 20% come from around the world: China, Singapore, Canada.
Any particular verticals you focus on?
Yeah, we focus on financial services. That's our largest vertical. Second is corporates and professional services, and third is healthcare. Healthcare is our smallest vertical.
So going forward, looking at the crystal ball, what's the exit, if at all?
I think it's not clear yet, but most likely we'll go IPO if the markets turn around. Right now the markets are extremely volatile, so I don't think you want to go an IPO. That's why companies like Facebook and Groupon have, I think there are about 150 IPOs in the US which have filed the papers but not proceeding. So I think it all depends in the next 12 to 18 months as to how markets do.
Alok, thank you so much.
Sure.